Hey guys, we're on day 203 in our Bible reading plan, and today we are reading in the book of Isaiah, chapters 28 through 30. Again, this whole section is about the impending judgment juxtapositioned with the hope of the Lord for his remnant people. In chapter 28, it's no different than what we've been reading. It's a woe to the leaders of Ephraim, of Judah, and it says that in verse 5, in that day, the Lord Almighty will be a glorious crown, a beautiful wreath for the remnant of his people. The Lord is going to bring the proud crown of Ephraim low. And when he does, that faithful remnant will in that day turn back to the Lord and will worship him. And verse 6 says, God is going to be a spirit of justice to the one who sits in judgment, a source of strength to those who turn the battle back at the gates. And it ends with this reference to a plowing field, to the idea that you don't just keep plowing a field over and over again, you plow it for a purpose to be planted. And so this judgment is coming with a purpose. And one day the Lord is going to, again, for this faithful remnant, replant them, and the day of reckoning will be over. And so Isaiah praises the Lord at the end of this chapter. In verse 29, he says this, all this also comes from the Lord Almighty, whose plan is wonderful, whose wisdom is magnificent. And so Isaiah praises God for this. And then in chapter 29, we read sort of a woe to Jerusalem. It starts out with Ariel, Ariel. And Ariel, Ariel is a word that means hearth altar. It's a place where you would bring sacrifices. And so as we're reading through this, we've been reading about Jerusalem, we've been reading about Ephraim, we've been reading about Zion. Here, the Lord is going to use the term Ariel, Ariel to refer to Jerusalem. It becomes more clear as you read through that that's what he's referring to. There's a little bit of a play on words here. So in chapter 29, it says this, verse 1, Ariel, Ariel, the city where David encamped. Add year to year, let the feast run their round. And then in verse 2, it says, yet I will distress Ariel, or Jerusalem, or Zion, and there shall be moaning and lamentation, and she shall be to me like an Ariel or a hearth altar. She herself will become the Ariel or the hearth altar. And so there's this little play on words in this prophecy, and we're supposed to catch that this is Jerusalem is being made into an altar of sacrifice here, that the judgment that is coming is going to be a cleansing judgment over the nation. And then he also says, though, that when this judgment has brought them low, when it has brought these people low to the dust, to the ground, then the Lord is also going to judge their enemies. And as they were brought low, so it will be with the hordes of all the nations that fight against Mount Zion. And then in chapter 30, we read that it says, woe to the obstinate children who form alliances and seek help with Pharaoh and Egypt. It says that Egypt is also going to be put to shame. Then verse 18 says this, it says, yet the Lord longs to be gracious to you. Therefore, he will rise up to show you compassion, for the Lord is a God of justice. Blessed are all who wait for him. Then verse 19, how gracious will he be to you when you cry out for help. In that day, they will turn from their idols, and God will again show them his favor. And that is such a strong theme throughout these chapters, that when the people have been brought low, the Lord will deliver them again. That this coming judgment, like in chapter 28, where they're talking about the plowing of the field, this coming judgment, this plowing of the nations, of God's nation, his people, this judgment that's coming, this destruction, this breaking up of the earth, it's not going to continue forever. God is not just plowing the land for no reason. He's not completely just going to annihilate them. Instead, he's allowing this judgment to break them up, to break up the ground, this hard, solid ground, so that they can once again become his people and the children of his promise, so that he can once again bless them, that he can once again plant them, give them a home and a future, and he will again be faithful to them. As I was reading through this today, it just really struck me that, there are real consequences to our sin. There are real consequences to our choices in this earth that we have to deal with. When we sin, our sins are forgiven. Our relationship with God is put right. He can forgive any sin. But we still live on this earth in relationship with others and have to deal with the consequences of those relationships. We have to deal with our sin and the consequences it brings in this world. If we allow it to, the consequences of our sin can plow the hard hearts from which that sin was birthed. If we turn it over to the Lord, if we allow him to come in and break up that hardening and that hard soil of our heart as we face the consequences of our sins, we can come out of that growing in the Lord, in our faith, in our knowledge, and our understanding of him, so that we can become the people that he's calling us to be. It's not easy, it's not pleasant, it's not always nice, but sometimes it's very necessary that those hard places in our hearts would be broken up. And so I just want to encourage you, if God is allowing you to walk through a time where you have to face the consequences of your sin, and it's difficult and it's hard, just know that the Lord can use this new fertile field that he is breaking up in you to plant something strong and beautiful in your faith, new life, a new future, new hope, new possibilities if we allow him to. I hope that encourages you today. I know it does me. I'd love to hear how the Lord's speaking to you through these verses. So drop a comment in the Bible app and let's talk some more about this today. Have a great day, guys.